Are you ready to buy your first short-term rental in the Smokies and just not sure where to go, what to do next? Well, we're going to spend some time today showing you how we evaluate properties in the Gatlinburg Pigeon Forge area before we ever show up physically to actually walk through. You want to be efficient with your time? You want to make the right decision? Well, we're going to show you how to get there, and we're going to start online. Let's get started. Hey guys, it's Mark with Epic Outcomes by EXP. We get a lot of questions about the process of when you're going to invest in an STR. How do you go about finding the right place? A lot of people immediately want to jump into lining up a bunch of showings and racing out into the field to go see all these different cabins and determine which one they're going to buy. The process really starts with doing your research online. A lot of it is getting to the basics of where is it located, what does it have going for it, what do the numbers look like, what is it going to cost me. But more importantly, you want to save a lot of time by doing an online evaluation. And as good as photographers are, there's a lot of tips and tricks that we're going to go through right now. They're going to show you how to identify things that you really need to be aware of before you waste a bunch of time driving all over the place and looking at these different options. So we're just going to take a listing that's on the market right now. It is in the Gatlinburg Pigeon Forge area. You can see it on screen right here. This is just a good one to show what great promotional pictures can look like, but things that are still going to get caught and that you should be aware of. Great opening picture on this one. You can see the beautiful views. I'm a gorgeous guy. You can see the mountains in the distance. That's a great appeal to people. The things that you want to look at next to that though and determine what this means for you is the little things that you may not be aware of. So for all the blue skies and everything else, I'm seeing a simple walk up and what appears to be a drive, possibly parking. I don't know. I've got to get a little more information there. The other thing that I'm going to look at is I'm going to look at the exterior and the condition. There's things that you can see without ever showing up at the property. They're going to tell you something about kind of the maintenance, how the place has been maintained, what condition you're likely to find it in. Some of that you can tell if you look at these two off to the side. These are much newer properties. So this is going to tell me that this is a multi-phase development. These are more recent builds. This is an older build. So I'm already going to be looking at something that's been around for a little bit of time. The other thing that I want to be aware of is I look at the outside of this, I can see some differential coloring on all the wood on the exterior. Now that's not necessarily a bad thing, but what it tells me is this probably hasn't been stained recently. You can also look at the railing styles, and when you compare those to some of the newer cabins out there, if you look down this way, you don't see that heavy log structure. They've gone to something a little bit more modern, which is going to have lower maintenance. If they're doing hog wire, metal railing, something like that, versus the wood, you're going to be dealing with less wood rot along the way. So just something to keep in mind. Let's take a look here as we come into the living room. So big vaulted ceiling, beautiful, has the bright wood colors, fireplace, big screen TV, lots of leather couch seating all the way around. What are the things that stand out when I look at this? Well, one, I'm not seeing a lot of extra lighting in here. And I know that some of that lighting is going to be amped up from the pictures. One of the things that makes for a very appealing property is one that is light, airy, and bright. So if you're not seeing adequate lighting in the pictures, there's a good chance it doesn't exist, which means you're going to need to do something about that. Two, when I look at this, I look at it not just for the picture and the frame angle and everything else. Does this appeal to me the way that it's laid out right now? But is this a realistic layout for this room? Before I go there, if I'm walking into this, I'm literally walking right into the middle of the living room. This is probably not as functional a layout as I'd be looking for, which tells me this is big furniture and it's probably jammed in a little bit of a small area. And I'll show you another angle here that's kind of a dead giveaway. So if we rotate to the next picture here, you can see this one is pushed all the way back against the wall, up against the stairs. You have a large couch here and you have a large chair over here. But the thing that really stands out to me is this is the exit to my patio. There's an entire table sitting over here blocking the doorway. You couldn't even get out. That tells me this furniture is never really going to work in this manner anyway. You're not going to be able to exit this door. That's a real problem. Plus, it's a fire hazard. So realistically, while this makes for a great picture, it's not really the functional usage of this room. This stuff's probably too big. Let's keep going here. They've turned that angle. You can see it's still right there. I'm still not seeing any additional lighting. I'm also not seeing any artwork. I'm not seeing anything that has relative appeal for me. Part of this is you're creating an experience for people. And when you're creating an experience, it has to be a place that they want to stay. I tell people all the time, when you're booking a place, you're looking for a place that is going to be restful and enjoyable, have the amenities that you want, but it also should be a place that if you show up and the weather's garbage, that if you don't want to go out, you don't want to venture out into that weather, so you want to stick around that cabin, you got to be comfortable being there. If your guests aren't comfortable staying at the house when it's, the time and place to be, not to mention the longer someone stays there, the more everybody's kind of in their hair. And so we're going to get to another piece of that, and that is about making sure that people have adequate space within the cabin to do the things that they want to do without being on top of each other. So let's flip through a couple more pictures here. Again, another shot of this. Look, nice light coming in through the windows. I applaud that. Again, I'm just not seeing a whole lot, and I'm seeing a lot of dark colors. With that, it's going to feel like a dark room. Make sure that when you're looking at these places that you're accounting for things that you'll likely have to change to make it a more appealing place for people to stay. That's going to mean bringing the colors up, lightening it up, giving it that light and airy sense that people really enjoy. Now this gives us a better picture of the overall. They've done great with the color coordination. I'm not sure that I'm going with red drapes and red cabinets. Again, between that, the black countertops, the dark floors, I don't know that this creates the sense of appeal that I think most people are going to want. And if I'm being very honest, we deal with a lot of these in the Smokies. You're not making yourself a standout when you're doing bears here, bears there, bears everywhere. Please keep your bears to a minimum. All right, kitchen. Nice clean layout. They've taken everything off the counter, but at the same time, there's something to be said for what you do in your Airbnb pictures versus what you do in a listing picture. Here, they've taken a lot off the counter. I'm not sure if I was cleaning the countertops up for a picture that I'm going to leave a fire extinguisher sitting out. I mean, it tells me that you've done the right things in preparing the cabin for guests, but at the same time, I don't think it needs to be in the pictures. The other thing, again, when I talk about lighting, we have one small light in the kitchen. We have absolutely no windows. This is probably going to end up feeling like a dark space. Keep that in mind. This is one where I'd be allocating part of my budget towards trying to come up with some additional lighting solutions to help out with the situation. I've also got an overhanging countertop that's clearly meant to be a bar top, but there's no chairs at it. What's going to happen when I put chairs there? Is that going to crowd the space even more? Is it going to feel usable? Something to keep in mind. Adequate dining area, decent size table, seat 6. That's fine. Again, we're not showing any bar stools here. And when you see how many beds they have kind of pushed into this place, you're going to realize that seating for 6 is probably not going to cut it. Always keep in mind, what does the space look like from a usability standpoint for the number of people I'm expecting to host? Okay, here we have one of the first bedrooms. And what I'll say here is they've gone through, they've got TVs in each room. Looks like they've got some towels set out here, but we have a bunk bed right in front of the window and almost partially obscuring the door, which I'm assuming is into the bathroom here, jammed in with the same big bed in this bedroom. As we kind of rotate through this, ask yourself, is this really appealing to people? Are they going to want to stay in a room where, one, we've got kind of a corner wall here that's jutting out and going to push this nightstand almost into the side of the bed. We've got another nightstand pushed over here, and then we have a bunk bed right at the foot of this king bed. To me, this is not an appealing room. You don't need to try and jam as many heads in beds as possible. You want to maximize your space so that you can meet those numbers, but at the same time, if it makes for an uncomfortable experience for guests, that's probably not going to be a good outcome for you. So, good clean bathroom. This I don't have any major issues with, but what I'd say is this. When I look at this and I see this kind of dark gray tile insert, which is great, I think that I would want a little bit lighter look in the rest of the bathroom. The kind of wood on wood down here, probably not all that appealing. So it's one of those things where I'm going to say, okay, we're going to need a light coat of white paint or something like that in here. So that's a little more money out of my pocket that I'm going to have to spend to kind of bring this up to a next level. Again, mirrors aren't really expensive, but the difference between a designed mirror and one that's just kind of a flush mount builder grade can make a difference. This is something that would probably need to come down. Okay, now we're up into the loft space. How can I tell? Well, I can see these beautiful bear covered checkered blankets that were hanging over the railings, but we've put 2 more bunk beds up here. That's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. Just keep in mind, these are bunk beds that are now sitting in an open space next to the primary living area. How well are people going to rest, or how much are people going to be able to enjoy themselves if the people down here have to be quiet because people are sleeping up here, or the people up here sleeping are having to deal with whoever's staying up late and making noise down in the living room? A lot of these places, you do end up having loft areas that become a secondary sleeping area, but quite often, if you can avoid doing that and keep those as a secondary living area, a gaming area, something like that, it's going to be less of an issue and more likely create an atmosphere where your guests are going to have true rest and relaxation, thus allowing them to enjoy the rest of their trip. Okay, so looks like we're still up in the same area. It looks like we may even have another bed over here. So we're really, again, we're jamming a lot of heads and beds over here. This may be a second bedroom. I can't really tell. Another thing with these, I like listing photos where we've labeled things at the bottom so we kind of know what we're looking at. Again, very minimalist, very safe. Got another fire hydrant. That's great. But I'm not seeing any artwork or any investment in things that make this an appealing space. I mean, even so much as like a chair to sit down and put your shoes on in the morning, it just doesn't have the relative appeal. Again, we've got another bunk bed kind of pushed over here. So this looks like this probably is a different space. This is another one where we have a bed in the room, then we have a bunk bed in the room. Again, it's pushed over so close to the closet that I don't know the closet's all that usable. Bathroom, fine. Again, no relative appeal. Clean, yes. Minimalist, yes, probably not as appealing as other places you're going to find online. That gives you some perspective. What we were talking about earlier about how things are kind of jammed in. I mean, this is a tight space, to be quite honest. It's, doesn't mean it's not enjoyable. It doesn't suit people, but what can you really afford to charge people when they feel like they're living on top of each other? So now we have a secondary living area. So this is great. This is good to have this. One, again, we've got a TV, we've got some seating and everything else. No surprise, matches the stuff that was upstairs. At least we're not blocking the door this time around, but there's nothing really else to the space. So we have a second place for people to watch TV, but I still haven't seen games, amenities, things that are going to contribute to an overall experience that people are really going to enjoy if staying here. Now we get a different angle on this and we can actually see that the couch is kind of pushed over to the side to make sure that there's adequate room to come through here. And then we've got this chair kind of jutting out in front of it. So whoever's over here better be about the size of Willow. And for those of you who don't know that reference, I suggest that you Google Mad Mardigan and watch the movie. Nothing wrong with this. It's a clean bedroom. Again, just a little hint to people. If you have a place where you're going to hang TVs on the wall and you're not using smart TVs and you're going to have a cable box and you're going to have wires, get some Velcro tape and get these things mounted up against the wall. Put a shelf in, put a floating shelf and place it just below the TV. Don't leave yourself looking like this. This leaves a horrible impression with your guests. It may not be a big deal. It's a simple fix, but it's the difference between people feeling like you put the effort in so that they can enjoy themselves and you just got it up and got it done and threw it on the market. The other thing that I want to point out here is this is a small room. You can see, there's not a lot of walking space. When I think about this, what are my guests going to do with their bags? When they get here and try to unpack and get dressed in the morning, are they going to have 8 to 10 inches between the foot of the bed and where they've got their bags kind of popped up, either laying on the floor, hopefully on luggage racks? By the way, you should have luggage racks for every single room, for every guest you have, unless you have custom places in the closet for them to set them up and get them out of the way, which I actually suggest. The more that people can keep the room clean for themselves, the more relaxed they're going to be during their stay. Same room, other side, you can tell. Look, it'll work. Does it do much more than that? Don't. We are back in the living room, slightly different angle. Now you can tell where Willow sits. Great shower stall again. Did a really good job with the tile and the upgrades here. We actually went with a nice mirror here. This was a good touch. This, with a light gray cabinet, a white cabinet, something like that. If we could have found some paint that would have actually matched this, or even the grout color would have been really nice on this, I think we'd have a much better looking bathroom. Back outside, beautiful, blue skies, but here's that railing I was talking about. You can already see some of the issues. Here's something else that I'm going to pick up on while I'm looking at these pictures. I'm looking for little details like this. We have carpenter bees in East Tennessee, and they will burrow into wood, lay their larvae, and then the woodpeckers will come along and absolutely destroy that. Once this starts becoming a problem, you're going to have to look at replacing that. Now, you can get it puttied, you can get it treated, and that's something that we suggest everyone do, is get high quality pest control, treat for your carpenter bees, treat for your seasonal pests, everything else on these. Otherwise, you're going to run into issues long term. Look, great outdoor seating space. One of the things that I'm looking at and picking up on though is I see this decking here. Looks like the decking's probably been updated at some point, but I'm not sure that it's been stained and maintained. That's going to be a question for me. When's the next time that I'm going to have to do major maintenance to make sure that this deck is in good shape? 2, you've got a good seating area here, but we've got everything kind of jammed in. If you look at where these chairs are on this side versus the overall size of the patio, there's not going to be a lot of pass-through space. Now, that's not a killer, but from my standpoint, if I'm looking at this, I'm going to look for something smaller to replace this, or I'm going to have to acknowledge that there's not a lot of pass-around for guests right here. That could be an issue with their overall experience. Again, if you're going to do outdoor furniture, and I'm not going to tell you that every place has it all matching, not even at my place does everything match, but try to at least get things to look like they go together. Now, love this, that they've stepped back and shown where this sits and that it's this standalone property. The question for me is, when was the picture taken? Is the rest of this for sale? And how much of this lot do I actually own? Where does it stop? Because I want to know whether someone can come in and build something that's going to impede my view or change the overall look, especially when I look in developments and people start listing the property and it's thus and such in phase 1. Well, likelihood is there's going to be a phase 2, maybe a phase 3. Know what the development is going to be for the area, or at least what's contemplated by the developer, because it's going to have an impact on what the value of your property is going to be if people come in and build all around it and put up other options. Now, that being said, getting into a development fairly early on with great views and with a preserved view can be really valuable, because it's not like it's getting any cheaper to build these. So in all likelihood, you have taken one of the better spots and lock that in long term. So that can be a real advantage. So I'm not saying it's a good or bad thing. I'm just saying know what you're getting into and do your research. Good view. We can see one down here. We need to know what's coming this way. Now, one of the things is, it looks like this is probably a community pool down here. We do have a community pool. Let's highlight that. Let's get a picture of that alongside in the listing. I'm going to tell you right now, we're at 37 of 39 pictures for this particular listing. As far as I can tell, I haven't seen anything that tells me whether this is one of the amenities that goes with a property or not. I want to know. Again, different deck area. Great that you have an additional deck area out here, but this doesn't match the rockers, doesn't match the patio furniture on the back. Make sure that if you're doing this, you're trying to give people a sense that you care about them enjoying the longevity of their stay. Take the time, reserve yourself some funds to make sure that you're getting the things that are going to make their stay special. Okay, the hot tub shop. Love this. This is one that I need to see. One, these are real investments. It's important that you have this. I think every cabin in the Smokies, any size, any magnitude, all has to have a hot tub. So this maybe is one of my favorite shots, because it also shows they've done what they need to. They put up the privacy barrier. They've actually got it kind of stained to match the rest of wood. So I applaud this. And it looks like it's in good shape. You know, make sure though, when you're looking at these, that you have an idea of what kind of shape is it in. Does the picture have it off? Does it show the water running? This is important because it may be sitting there and it may be half functioning. You don't want to waste time going out and looking at places where everything's broken down and you're going to have to invest thousands upon thousands more fixing things that you thought were taken care of when you got there. All the way through, I don't think this is a bad home. I will tell you, listed at almost $700,000 for 2,120 square feet. If there were things done different, this could be a really good opportunity for someone. You're not going to know until you go through, you pull AirDNA numbers, you look at what the likely revenue stream is from this, you read the reviews. One of the other things that you absolutely have to do is put the address in, go to Google Maps, and get the most updated street view. Look around, look left and right, look what it's like coming into the community, leaving the community. Are the roads good? Where am I situated? What's going on around that? Is there a lot of building in the area taking place? The other thing that you want to do is, if you can isolate it, you have the address, you can pull up Airbnb, you can pull up VRBO, and you can zoom in on those areas. While they won't give you the exact address, because that's not how things are done, you can probably, by finding intersections, finding landmarks, isolate that property and then go ahead and read the reviews on it. See what people are saying about it. That'll give you a good indication of what other people think of that property. But most importantly, reach out, give us a call here at Epic Outcomes, because this is what we do. We want to help you sort through the mess, find the right investment property, create long-term wealth, and do what's best for you. Mark and Kelli Brewer, Epic Outcomes by EXP. Ping us, follow us on Instagram, follow us on social media, like and subscribe. There's more coming. We want to be your choice for shopping East Tennessee, whether it's in and around the Knoxville area, but most importantly, in the Gatlinburg Pigeon Forge area. We're here to help make sure that your investments work. Thanks.